Welcome to my channel, Crochet for Baby. Thanks for watching. In today's crochet tutorial, I'm going to show you how to crochet this little vest for baby girls between 9 and 12 months old. It's very easy to make, so I hope you like it. Now, in another tutorial, I'm going to show you how to crochet the same little vest, but I'm going to add sleeves so that we can turn this into a nice little cardigan sweater. So stay tuned for that. Now, like I said, this little vest is for baby girls between 9 and 12 months old, but you can easily make it smaller or bigger from 3 to 6 months up to 12 to 18 months. Down here in the information box, I'm going to leave some information on how you can make it smaller or bigger, so be sure to check that out. Also, if you prefer a written pattern, check out my Etsy shop. I'll be adding the written instructions there as soon as it's ready. Now, at the end of the tutorial, I leave you the finished measurements. And remember, all of my tutorials are always in English and in Spanish. Okay, so let's get started. But first, don't forget to subscribe, share my tutorials, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. Okay, to make this little vest, I'll be using this 4mm crochet hook, and today I'm using this DK weight yarn. I'm using Stylecraft Special. You can also use any number 3 yarn, or if you're in Australia, you can use 8-ply. So here, to begin, I have 50 chains. This chain here is measuring about 28 centimeters, which is about 11 inches. Now, if your chain is off by 1 or 2 centimeters, it's okay. Just continue. So here, to continue, on the second chain from the hook, this one here, I'm going to make a single crochet into the next chain, single crochet into the next, and so on. For this first row, this is all I'm going to do. I'm just going to make single crochets. Now, at the end of this first row, I'm going to have 49 single crochets. Continue, and I'll meet you at the end of this first row. I finished making this first row. This is where we did single crochets, and I have a total of 49 single crochets. Now for the second row, chain 1, turn, beginning on top of the first single crochet here, make a single crochet. Now chain 1, skip 1 single crochet, and into this next one, which is the third one from the beginning here, you're going to make a shell stitch. Each one of these shell stitches for this row is going to consist of 4 double crochets. Now chain 1, skip 1 single crochet, and into the next make a single crochet, chain 1, skip 1 single crochet, and into the next make another shell. Chain 1, skip 1 single crochet, and into this next single crochet we're going to make our first corner. So single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. Now put a stitch marker here where we have these 2 chains to mark the first corner. Now this here is going to be the front panel, so we have 2 shells for the front panel. Now we're going to separate the sleeves. For the sleeves, same thing, we're going to have 2 shells. So chain 1, skip 1 single crochet, and into the next make your first shell for the sleeve. Chain 1, skip 1 single crochet, and into the next make a single crochet, chain 1, skip 1 single crochet, and into the next make your second shell for this sleeve. So 4 double crochets, chain 1, skip 1 single crochet, and into the next make your second corner. So single crochet, 2 chains, single crochet. Now put a stitch marker to mark the second corner. So into the chain 2 space, put your stitch marker, and now here we're going to make the back side. Chain 1, skip 1 single crochet, and into the next make your first shell for the back side. For the back side, I'm going to make 4 shell stitches. Here's the first shell, chain 1, skip 1 single crochet, and into the next make a single crochet, chain 1, skip 1 single crochet, and into the next make your second shell for the back side. chain 1, skip 1 single crochet and into the next, single crochet, chain 1, skip 1 single crochet and into the next, make your third shell for the back side. Chain 1, skip 1 single crochet and into the next, make a single crochet, chain 1, skip 1 single crochet and into the next, make your fourth shell for the back side. Chain 1, skip 1 single crochet and into the next, single crochet, make the third corner. So single crochet, 2 chains, single crochet, put a stitch marker here to mark the third corner. Now we're going to separate the second sleeve. So chain 1, skip 1 single crochet and into the next, make your first shell for the sleeve here. Chain 1, skip 1 single crochet and into the next, single crochet, chain 1, skip 1 single crochet and into the next, make your second shell for the second sleeve. Chain 1, skip 1 single crochet and into the next, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. Here's the fourth corner, put a stitch marker. Now I need to finish with 2 shells here, so chain 1, skip 1 single crochet and make your first shell for this second front panel. Chain 1, skip 1 single crochet and into the next, single crochet, chain 1, skip 1 single crochet and into the next, make your second shell for the second front panel. Chain 1, here I have 2 single crochets left, skip 1 and into the last one here, make a single crochet. And here's the second row where we have separated the front panels, the sleeves, and the back side. So for each one of the front panels, I have 2 and 2. For the sleeves, also 2 and 2. And then for the back side, I have 4 shells. So that's a total of 12 shells for this second row. Now for the third row, chain 3, turn. Now here we have this shell stitch here. We have 4 double crochets. Into the first 2 double crochets, make 1 front post double crochet on each one. Chain 1, 2 front post double crochets. This is what you're going to do on each one of the shells when we do this row of front post double crochets. 2 front post double crochets, 1 chain, 2 front post double crochets. Now I have the second shell, same thing, 2 front post double crochets, chain 1, 2 front post double crochets. Now I have the first corner here, remove this stitch marker, and into this stitch marker here we're going to do the following. We're going to make a V-stitch, so double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Here's 1 V-stitch, chain 1 and make 1 more V-stitch, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. For each corner, this is what we're going to do in this row of front post double crochets. 2 V-stitches separated by 1 chain here. Put this stitch marker back here in the center of the 2 V-stitches, and now we're going to continue for the sleeve. We have the first shell, make 2 front post double crochets, chain 1, 2 front post double crochets. We have the second shell, same thing, 2 front post double crochets, chain 1, 2 front post double crochets. Now we have the second corner, same thing. Remove this stitch marker, and here inside this chain 2 space we're going to make our first V-stitch, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, and then 1 more V-stitch. Now put this stitch marker here in the middle of these 2 V-stitches, and we're going to continue for the back side. Same thing, 2 front post double crochets, chain 1, 2 front post double crochets. Continue and finish the back side, and I'll meet you right about here into this third corner to show you what we need to do next. Okay, I finished making these front post double crochets for the back side. Now we have the third corner here. Remove this stitch marker, and right inside this chain 2 space we're going to make 2 V-stitches. Here's the first V-stitch, chain 1, and then make a second V-stitch. Return this stitch marker to mark the center here in the middle of these 2 V-stitches. And now we have the first shell for the second sleeve, so make 2 front post double crochets, chain 1, 2 front post double crochets, and so on. You're going to do the same thing on the second shell, then you're going to do the same thing I just did here for the corner, 2 V-stitches, and then finish these last 2 shell stitches. I will meet you at the end of this third row. I'm here at the end of this third row. This is where we have done front post double crochets. Now to finish here into this last single crochet, make a double crochet, and this is how I finished the third row. Now for the fourth row, chain 1 and turn. Beginning on top of this first double crochet, make a single crochet, chain 1. Now what we're going to do is inside each one of the chain 1 spaces here of each one of the shells, we're going to make shell stitches, and right in between, right here, we're going to make our single crochet. So let me show you. Beginning here, we have the first chain 1 space, make your first shell, chain 1, in the middle of these 2 shells right here, make a single crochet, chain 1, and into this next chain 1 space of the next shell, make a shell. Now chain 1. Now between this first V-stitch and these last 2 double crochets right in the center, make a single crochet, chain 1. And now we have the 2 V-stitches here separated by 1 chain. So into the first V-stitch, make a shell stitch. This is how we're going to increase in each row. Here's the shell stitch. Now chain 1, remove this stitch marker, and right here where we have this chain 1, make a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. Now return your stitch marker right here where we did the 2 chains between the 2 single crochets, chain 1, and into this second V-stitch, make a shell. Now chain 1, and again right in the middle, this is the second V-stitch and these are the first 2. Right in the middle here, make a single crochet, chain 1, and then inside the chain 1 space, make a shell. Chain 1, right in between the shell stitches, single crochet, chain 1, and into the second shell or inside the chain space here, make a shell. Chain 1, and right in the middle here after these 2 double crochets and before the V-stitch, make a single crochet, chain 1, and again we have the second corner. Into the first V-stitch, make a shell. Chain 1, and then remove this stitch marker, and right here where we have this chain, make a single crochet, 2 chains, single crochet, chain 1, and into the second V-stitch make a shell. Now before we continue, make sure you return the stitch marker right in the center of these 2 single crochets, so into the chain 2 space. And now chain 1, and right in the middle here make a single crochet, chain 1, and then a shell inside the next shell. And this is how you're going to continue until you finish making these shells for the back side. I will meet you here. This is the 3rd corner. I will meet you here to show you what we need to do next. Okay, I finished making these shell stitches for the back. I have 5. Now here I have 1 chain, and right in the middle, right here after these 2 double crochets and before the first V-stitch, right in the center here, make a single crochet, chain 1, and into the first V-stitch of this 3rd corner, you're going to make another shell. This is how we're going to work each one of the corners when we do this row. 4 double crochets, chain 1, remove this stitch marker, and right in the center of these 2 V-stitches make a single crochet, 2 chains, single crochet. Now put this stitch marker back here to mark the corner right there. Chain 1, and now we have the second V-stitch here, make another shell stitch. Now chain 1, and right in the middle of this next shell and the V-stitch here right in the center, make a single crochet, chain 1, and then we have this next chain 1 space, make a shell, and then you're just going to continue on your own. Chain 1, right in the middle here, make a single crochet, chain 1, and into the next shell, another shell. So continue for this row. Here in this 4th corner, you're going to do exactly the same thing we did on each one of the other 3s. You're going to make a shell, then a single crochet, 2 chain, single crochet, and then a shell into the second V-stitch, and finish this 4th row. I'll meet you at the end of this 4th row. I'm here at the end of this 4th row. I did my last shell stitch here. I did 1 chain at the end to finish this row. We're going to go here into the 2nd chain at the end and make a single crochet. And this is how I finished the 4th row with a total of 20 shells for this 4th row. Now for the 5th row, we're going to chain 3 and turn. In this row, I have to make this row of front post double crochets. So into each one of the shells, this is what you're going to do. I'm going to show you these 3, and then I'm going to show you the corner, and then you're going to continue on your own. So each one of the shells, you're going to start with 2 front post double crochets, chain 1, 2 front post double crochets. Jump to the next shell and do the same thing, 2 front post double crochets, chain 1, 2 front post double crochets. The 3rd one, same thing, 2 front post double crochets, chain 1, 2 front post double crochets. Now we have the 1st corner. Remove this stitch marker, and inside this chain 2 space, you're going to make 2 V-stitches. Here's the first one, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Now chain 1 and make another one. So you're going to make 2 V-stitches for each corner, and make sure you chain 1 to separate the V-stitches, so like this. Now we're going to continue along this side and do the same thing. We have the first shell, make 2 front post double crochets, chain 1, 2 front post double crochets, and so on. Continue for the rest of this 5th row. Each one of the corners you're going to do exactly in the same way as I showed you here, 2 V-stitches and then a chain 1. Make sure you put back your stitch marker to mark the center here. and then continue. I'll meet you at the end of this 5th row. I'm here at the end of this 5th row. This is where we have done these front post double crochets. Now to finish here at the end, on top of this last single crochet, make a double crochet. And this is how I finished this 5th row. Now for the 6th row, we're going to chain 1, turn, beginning on top of this last double crochet that I did, make a single crochet, chain 1. In this row, we're going to repeat the same thing we did on the 4th row. So we're going to make shell stitches inside each one of these chain spaces, then single crochet, shell, single crochet, shell, single crochet. Here I'm going to show you how to work the first corner so that you can do exactly the same thing on the next 3. So here, to begin, inside this chain space, make your first shell, chain 1, single crochet between the shells, chain 1, second shell, chain 1, single crochet between the shells, chain 1, and your third shell. Chain 1 between the V-stitch and the last 2 double crochets, make a single crochet, chain 1, and then we have the first corner, we have the first V-stitch. Inside this V-stitch, make a shell. Chain 1, remove this stitch marker, and right in the center of these 2 V-stitches, make a single crochet, 2 chains, single crochet, return your stitch marker to the center here where we did the 2 chains, and now chain 1, and we have the second V-stitch, make a shell. And this is how you're going to work each one of the corners. You're going to make a shell, then single crochet, 2 chains, single crochet, and then shell. Remember that before the shell we do a chain, and after the shell we always do a chain. Now here, chain 1, and right in the middle here of the V-stitch and the 2 double crochets, make a single crochet, chain 1, and then inside the next shell, make your next shell. And this is all you're going to do for this 6th row. So continue, finish this row, and I will meet you at the end. I'm here at the end of this 6th row. This is where we have done shell stitches. Now here at the end, I have a total of 28 shell stitches for this 6th row. To finish, chain 1, and into the second chain here at the end, make a single crochet. And this is how I finished the 6th row with 28 shell stitches. Now for the 7th row, chain 3 and turn. Now here we're going to do the same thing we do when we have the shell stitches. You're going to make 2 front post double crochets, chain 1, 2 front post double crochets. Jump to the next one and do exactly the same thing. I'm going to do this until I come to the first corner where I'm going to show you what we're going to do. Okay, here's my last shell stitch for the front panel. We have 4. Now we have the first corner. Now in each one of the corners, this is what you're going to do. I'm not going to increase any more shells. So what I'm going to do here into this first corner is I'm going to make 1 V-stitch. Just like this, just 1 V-stitch, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. This is what you're going to do on each one of the next 3 corners. And then for the shells, you're going to do the same thing for each one. 2 front post double crochets, chain 1, 2 front post double crochets. Continue like this for this 7th row, and I'll meet you at the end. I'm here at the end of this 7th row. To finish this row, I'm going to go here to the end where I have the single crochet and make a double crochet. And this is how I finished this 7th row. This is where we did these front post double crochets, and on each corner in this row we only did 1 V-stitch. So we have 4 V-stitches, 1 for each corner. Now for the 8th row, chain 1 and turn, beginning on top of this double crochet, make a single crochet, chain 1, and inside each one of the chain 1 spaces of each shell stitch you're going to make a shell stitch. So 4 double crochets, chain 1 right in the middle between the 2 shells, a single crochet, chain 1, and then again another shell. I'm going to do this until I come to the first corner where I'm going to show you what we're going to do for each one. Okay, so here's my 4th shell for the front panel, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now chain 1, and we have the first V-stitch here. Remove the stitch marker for this corner, and right inside the V-stitch here, make a single crochet, 2 chains, single crochet. Now chain 1, we have the first shell here for the sleeve, make a shell. This is all we're going to do here for each one of the corners, exactly in the same way. Single crochet, 2 chains, single crochet. Put back your stitch marker here and continue and do the same thing on each corner. I will meet you at the end of this 8th row. I'm here at the end of this 8th row. This is where I did these shell stitches. I have 1 chain here at the end, so to finish this row we're going to go into the 2nd chain and make a single crochet. And this is how I finished the 8th row with a total of 28 shell stitches. Now for row 9 we're going to chain 3 and turn. Now for these shells, same thing, we're going to work 2 front post double crochets, chain 1, 2 front post double crochets. I'm going to do this until I come to the first corner so that I can show you what we're going to do on each corner from here on. Now we have the first corner. This is what you're going to do. Into this chain 2 space, make a V-stitch. And that's what you're going to do on each one of the corners. Double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Now continue and do the same thing for each one of the shells here for the sleeve. And once you get to the second corner, you're going to do the same thing for the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. I'm here at the end of this 9th row. This is where we did front post double crochets and we did V-stitches into each one of the corners. Here at the end, I finished by making a double crochet here into this single crochet at the end. Now for the 10th row, we're going to chain 1 and turn. Beginning on top of this first double crochet, make a single crochet, chain 1, and inside each one of the chain 1 spaces of each shell, you're going to make shell stitches, and then right in the middle, single crochet. So let me show you here. I'm going to do this front panel, and then I'm going to show you what we're going to do on here in the first corner so that you can do the same thing for the rest. Here's the last shell for this front panel. There's 4. Now I have the first corner. This is what you're going to do into each one of the corners. You're going to do a single crochet into this V-stitch, 2 chains, single crochet, chain 1, and then continue on and make your shell stitches for this sleeve. And then when you come to the second, third, and fourth corner inside the V-stitch, you're going to do a single crochet, 2 chains, single crochet. Continue like this to the end of this 10th row, and I'll meet you at the end. I finished making this 10th row. This is where we did shell stitches. I have a total of 28 shell stitches for this 10th row. Now what we're going to do in the next row is we're going to divide the sleeves. So chain 3 and turn. Here what we're going to do for each one of these shell stitches is 2 front post double crochets, chain 1, 2 front post double crochets. I'm going to continue like this until I come to the first corner where I'm going to show you how we're going to divide the sleeves. Okay, so this front panel here is done. I have 4 shells. Now we have the first corner. What I'm going to do here is inside this chain 2 space of this corner, you're going to make 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets. Now to divide the sleeve, chain 1, skip 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shell stitches, and into this second corner remove the stitch marker, and into this chain 2 space make the same thing, 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets. And this is how we divide this first sleeve, and that's what it looks like. Now if you want to add more chains here under the sleeve, you can. I think that for the size that we're making is perfect with just 1 chain. Now you're just going to continue along the back side and work 2 front post double crochets, chain 1, 2 front post double crochets on each one of these shells for the back side. I will meet you right here to show you once again how to divide the second sleeve. I finished making these front post double crochets for the back side. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 shells. Now into this corner here, I'm going to make 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets. Now to separate the sleeve, chain 1, skip 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shells, and into this fourth corner make 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets, and then continue with working 2 front post double crochets, chain 1, chain 1, 2 front post double crochets on each one of these shells until you finish this first row. I'll meet you at the end of this row to show you what we need to do next. Okay, I finished making this first row. This is where we have divided the sleeves. Now here at the end, all I did was just make a double crochet. Now I have 5 shells and 5 shells for each one of the front panels, and then the back side I'm going to have 10. Now in the next row, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop using this 4mm hook, and I'm going to start using this 4.5mm hook. I want the bottom part of this little vest or little jacket to be a bit more full. If you want to continue with the same hook, the 4mm, it's okay, you can do that. This here is just going to help with the fullness of the skirt or the bottom of the little vest. Now if you're using a different hook size to make this smaller or bigger, just go up half a hook size. So here for the second row, chain 1 and turn. And beginning on top of this first double crochet, make a single crochet, chain one. Now inside each one of these shells in this row, we have to do the row of shells. So I'm going to make 4 double crochets here. Chain one, and right in the middle of the 2 shells, make a single crochet, chain one. I'm going to continue like this until I come to the under the sleeve here. Now do not chain here. What we're going to do is right here into this chain that we did when we divided, make 4 double crochets. This is where we're going to increase 1 extra shell. There, that's 4 double crochets, and now I have the first shell for the back side. Same thing, 4 double crochets. Now chain one, and right in the middle of these 2 make a single crochet, chain one, and then continue with the same thing until you come to the next sleeve. Here you're going to make your last shell. Don't chain, but instead go here into the first chain and make 4 double crochets, just like I did here, and then continue and make your first shell for the front panel here, and then continue and finish. I'll meet you at the end of this second row. I'm here at the end of this second row. This is where we have done these shells, and under each sleeve we added an extra shell. So at the end of this second row you should have 22 shell stitches. Now here to finish, chain one at the end, and into the second chain here make a single crochet, and this is how I finished the second row. Now for the third row, chain 3 and turn. In this third row we need to do the row of front post double crochets, so you're going to do the exact same thing on each shell. You're going to make 2 front post double crochets, chain 1, 2 front post double crochets, and then do the same thing into the next one, 2 front post double crochets, chain 1, 2 front post double crochets. Continue like this. Here under the sleeve where we added these 4 double crochets, you're going to do the same thing. 2 front post double crochets, chain 1, 2 front post double crochets, and then continue. Finish this third row and I'll meet you at the end. I'm here at the end of this third row. This is where we did front post double crochets. Now to finish this row, you're always going to make a double crochet here at the end. And this is how I finished this row. Now from here on, these are the 2 rows that you're going to repeat, the row of front post double crochets and the row of shell stitches. So for row 4, I need to repeat the row of shell stitches. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to chain 1, and beginning on top of this first double crochet, make a single crochet, chain 1, and then inside each one of the chain 1 spaces of each one of the shells, you're going to do a shell. Each one of the shell stitches consists of 4 double crochets, chain 1, and then right in the middle of the 2 shells right here, a single crochet, chain 1, and then again a shell inside the next chain 1 space. This is how you're going to continue for this 4th row. When you finish this row, you're going to repeat the last row that I just showed you, the front post double crochet row. Now, I'm not exactly sure how many rows I'm going to do, but just continue and repeat these 2 rows and continue watching. I'll let you know exactly how many rows I'm going to do, so I'll meet you at the end of that row. Okay, I finished making this part. I did a total of 17 rows. So from here where we divided the sleeves up to the last row, there's 17. We have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17. The last row here for me is this row of front post double crochets. Now it's measuring from the top of the shoulder to the end here, this last row. It's measuring about 30 centimeters, which is about 11.75 inches. If you want to make this part here longer, you can. I'm going to go ahead ahead and make about 3 more rows here. So for row 18, this is what we're going to do. We're going to chain 1, turn. Now to begin here, on top of this first double crochet, make a half double crochet. Now in this row, I'm going to alternate between a front post and a back post half double crochet. So beginning into this second double crochet, make a front post half double crochet, into the next back post half double crochet, into the next front post half double crochet, and into the next back post half double crochet. This is all I'm going to do for this row. I'm just going to alternate between a front post and a back post half double crochet. Now what you can also do if you have a hard time making these front post half double crochets and back post half double crochets, you can add maybe 2 rows more of the same pattern and just leave it like that, or you can do single crochets, maybe 3 or 4 rows of just single crochets. So that's another option, but I'm just going to continue here alternating between front post and back post half double crochets. Continue like this to the end of this 18th row, and I'll meet you there to show you what we need to do next. I'm here at the end of this 18th row. This is where we did front post and back post half double crochets. Now to finish this 18th row, into the second chain here, make a half double crochet. Now we're going to repeat the same thing for row 19 and 20. So chain 1, turn, beginning on top of the first half double crochet here, make a half double crochet, then do the same thing, a front post half double crochet, then a back post half double crochet, front post half double crochet, back post half double crochet, and so on. You're going to continue like this till you finish. Then you're going to repeat the same thing for row 20. I'll meet you at the end of the 20th row. Okay, I finished making this part. I did 3 rows of front post and back post half double crochet, so I finished row 20. Now what we're going to do is along the side here of the front panels and around the neckline, we're going to make single crochets. So to do this, chain 1 here. Here's our last half double crochet that I did to finish. Make a single crochet. Now into the next row, make a single crochet, and into the next row a single crochet. So I have 3 single crochets here. Now these are the 3 chains, then single crochet, 3 single crochet. So here where we have these 3 chains, I'm going to make 2 single crochets. In the row where I have the single crochet, I'm going to make 1. So I'm just going to continue now like this, 2, then 1, 2, then 1, and that's all. I'm going to do this until I come to the top here. I will meet you here to show you what we need to do next. Okay, I finished making these single crochets along this front panel. Now I have a total of 43 single crochets, and my last one is here into this row of chains that we have. So that's number 43. If you have 1 or 2 stitches less or more, it's okay. Just make sure that when you do the other front panel, you have the same number of stitches. That's the important thing. So here, we're going to continue along the neckline. Before I do that, into this last stitch where I did this stitch number 43, I'm going to make 2 more single crochets. This is so that I can turn here easily. And now into these remaining chains that we have along the neckline, we're just going to make 1 single crochet on each one. So like this. That's all I'm going to do. So continue making these single crochets, and I'll meet you at the other end. Okay, I finished making these single crochets along the neckline. Now we're going to do the same number of single crochets that we did here in this front panel. We're going to do them here. For me, it was 43 single crochets. So here into this last single crochet, I'm going to make 2 more single crochets. Then into this next row single crochet, I'm going to make 1. Then I have this row where I have a single crochet here at the end, so make 1. Then I'm going to do 2, 1, 2, 1, and so on. Continue, finish this side, and I'll meet you at the end. Okay, I finished making these single crochets along this other side. Now what we're going to do here is chain 1 and turn. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to work single crochets again. So 1 single crochet for each one of the single crochets that we did on the previous row, just like this. We're going to do this here for this front panel, then around the neckline again, and then I'll meet you here at this other end to show you how we're going to add buttonholes on this side. Okay, I finished making these single crochets along the neckline. This is where I told you I was going to add buttonholes along this front panel, but I've decided not to add buttonholes. So what I'm going to do instead is just continue and work single crochets. Now, the reason why I'm not going to add buttonholes, it's because the spaces that are left between this first row and the second row right here is big enough for this button to go through. These buttons that I'm going to use are 11 millimeter, and as you can see, it easily goes through. So that's what I'm going to do. So you can do the same thing. These buttons are 11 millimeter or 7/16 of an inch. I purchased these from Hobby Lobby. So I'm going to use in this color. So I'm just going to continue here and work single crochets until I come here to the end. Then I'm going to attach my buttons to this side. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll come back and show you this finished part. Okay, I finished making these single crochets for this front panel. Now here at the end I did my last single crochet, cut my yarn and passed my yarn through that last loop. Also I went ahead and added my buttons. Now these buttons here, I went ahead and tie them here, and I'm just going to hide these hints here along the inside. I have 6 buttons. These buttons here, like I said, are 11 millimeter, and I'm going to use the spaces in between the single crochets here as my buttonholes. So that's why we didn't add any. See? Perfect. Now what we're going to do next is with this 4 millimeter hook, we're going to go right here. This is where we finished. So I'm going to use this off-white yarn, also a DK weight yarn, and I'm going to go right here. This is where I did my last single crochet. I'm going to grab a loop here, and I'm going to chain 3. Now skip 1 single crochet and into the next, make a slip stitch, chain 3. Skip 1 single crochet and into the next, slip stitch, chain 3. Skip 1 single crochet and into the next, slip stitch, chain 3. This is how I'm going to continue for this front panel. Then I'm going to go around the neckline, and here on I'm going to do the same thing for this other front panel. I'll meet you here at the end to show you the finished sweater or finished vest. Okay, I finished making this last row here at the end. I just did my last slip stitch, cut my yarn and passed my yarn through that last loop, and then I just hid my ends here on the inside, and the little vest is all done. That's what it looks like. I went ahead and added my buttons here. That's what it looks like. Now I went ahead and did the same thing here around the sleeve. This is optional if you want to do this. This is how you're going to do it, and you're going to do it exactly in the same way here. Once I show you here, you're going to do it here exactly in the same way. So with this 4 millimeter hook and this off-white color yarn, I'm going to go right here under the sleeve, and right in the middle right here we have this shell. So I'm going to insert my hook right in the middle. I have 2 double crochets on either side, and I'm going to grab a loop here and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to go right here. We have this shell right before we separated the sleeves, so in there insert your hook right there and make a slip stitch. Now chain 3 again, and right on top of the single crochet that's right here, make a slip stitch, chain 3, and here we have the first shell for the sleeve. Right in the middle, make a slip stitch, chain 3, slip stitch again into that same space, chain 3. We have the single crochet in the middle of these 2 shells. Right on top, make a slip stitch, chain 3. We have the second shell right in the middle, make a slip stitch, chain 3, and then slip stitch again. And that's all I'm going to do all around the sleeve. Slip stitch here on top of this single crochet, and that's what it looks like. So continue all around, and I'll meet you here at the end to show you how we're going to finish this last row. Okay, I went ahead and finished this row here around the sleeve. Here at the end, I just did my last slip stitch here into the same space where we started, and then just cut my yarn, pass my yarn through that last loop, and this is what it looks like. Now you're going to do exactly the same thing I did here on this side, you're going to do it here on this side. Now this little vest is all done, and that's what it looks like. Here's the bottom, and here's the back. Now in another tutorial, I'm going to do the exact same vest. I think I'm going to do it in another color, but I'm going to show you this same tutorial, and then we're going to continue with the other one where I show you how to add the sleeve so that we can turn it into a beautiful little cardigan sweater. So stay tuned for that. Now let me give you the finished measurements. From the top here of the shoulder down to the end here, it's measuring about 32 centimeters, which is about 12.5 inches. The chest area, just the top, it's measuring about 28 centimeters, which is about 11 inches. And from here to here, it's measuring about 14.5 centimeters, which is about 5.75 inches. So based on these measurements, this little vest here is for baby girls between 9 and 12 months old. Now you can also make it smaller or bigger. I'd say from 3 to 6 months up to 12 to 18 months. Down here in the information box, I'm going to leave some information on how you can make it smaller or bigger. So be sure to check that out. Okay, so stay tuned for that other tutorial where I show you how to make the little cardigan sweater. But for now, this has been today's tutorial. I hope you like it. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.